Oh, it's 3 and Out here on this Thursday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're making us a part of your day, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Also streaming live Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Catch us on our YouTube channel, ESPN Coastal there on YouTube. You can catch the show each and every day. A lot to get to here this afternoon. We'll hear from Anthony Trace, Pro Football Focus. We'll talk draft. Falcons, what are they looking at number 4? Where's he at on the whole quarterback thing? We talked about that yesterday with some of the mock drafts. How does he see it with Fields, Zach Wilson, and others? He'll join us and look at that, as well as they put out their 2021 draft guide. So we'll chat with Anthony Trace in about 15 minutes. Mike Griffith, Dog Nation. 2 big pieces of news for Georgia. They got Julian Rochester and Demetrius Robertson coming back for their 6 seasons. We'll talk to Mike Griffith about that and the very latest with the Georgia Bulldog program, and a little buy-sell hold Braves edition coming up in the final hour of the program, if we can do that right here on the show. I know a lot of times Christian does buy-sell hold. We're like, well, no, that's not how it works. So we'll get to that. It might be, but we'll do that coming up in the final hour. Speaking of the Braves, pitchers and catchers reporting next Wednesday, first full squad workout the week after that, and then right into it. Spring training games start February 27th, as all seems to be moving forward there with Major League Baseball. Where you at, fellas, as they get ready to start back? Where you at with this team? What do they need to do to make you feel even better?
Well, I'm ready for more. I'm ready for more wins. I'm ready for more division titles. I'm ready for more postseason success. Look, I think this is going to be a really good team, and I know, Kevin, it's been an emotional roller coaster from a fan's perspective, watching the Mets make big splash moves and the Nationals and some other teams, the Padres and the Braves, relatively quiet. But I also think some of that is a little overstated, right? Like every offseason recap I've read says, well, the Braves were pretty quiet. I would opt for relatively quiet. They didn't make the grand slam, blockbuster trade, but you still went out and added a multiple-time All-Star starting pitcher in Charlie Morton, and you added the reigning National League home run and RBI leader in Marcell Ozuna. I mean, that's not sitting back doing nothing. That's being deliberate. That's being very focused with where you want to spend your money. And I think this is a team as spring training starts that has very few holes. I love the top of the batting order. I think it's as good as it gets. You guys, we all debated kind of where the Braves starting rotation ranks in Major League Baseball yesterday. I think it's as good as anybody in the National League outside of the Dodgers. And the Dodgers might have a historically good starting rotation. Maybe you could nitpick a little bit, Kev, and say you need a bench piece here or there. I'll agree with that. But there's still weeks ahead for that to occur. I think the spotlight is on guys like Austin Riley, clearly at third base, Christian Pache in center field, but they are highly touted prospects who have had, of course, good moments since they've been even in very limited opportunities with Pache at the major league level. But I mean, Ben, I see a roster with Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, Freddie Freeman, and Marcell Ozuna as your 1 through 4. I see a starting rotation that has somebody that can go the distance every night. I'm excited. I'm ready. I think the Braves are going to be really, really good.
I do think now, Kevin, it's time for them to take the training wheels off of Austin Riley. Obviously, when he first got called up, he was doing some incredible things. Then people realized, he can't hit certain pitches. Well, I think every single batter got to learn how to, hit the pitches that, everybody going to have to go through some different, aches and pains when you're talking about, hitting the baseball. But I do agree, BJ, when you talk about this, it's going to be about Mike Soroka. I mean, Mike Soroka is on his team last year. Who knows what they're able to do? His health is going to be, everybody's going to be watching that. I do think, I'm waiting. I'm keep watching the ticker, Kevin. I haven't seen Melanson and Shane Green get added back. I don't know why. This is why I played and didn't negotiate things. But if they're out there, go ahead and get them. Don't just breathe easy because you got Marcell for a discounted price. Marcell doesn't pitch. So you're going to have to go out there and get some relievers. But my biggest thing with the Braves is, can they continue this momentum? They have a winning culture in Atlanta. It has been proven, since Alex Anthopoulos, who doesn't get enough credit for what he took over in that front office, the things that they've done, Snick and those guys haven't messed anything up. They let those guys go out there and kind of develop, the culture on their own. Kevin, I think this Braves team still is the most exciting team what, in the 8th or 9th inning, they down by 4, they can come back and win. I don't like that, but I do like the fact that the Braves can do it. But can they keep making strides? Obviously, the Dodgers aren't going anywhere. They're still the team to beat in baseball, not just in the National League. I think if this Braves team can go out there and gel, you got Marcel back. Christian Pache is going to be an everyday starter. Austin Riley, if he's going to be your third baseman of the future, where he got to start in the present, got to go out there and live with that. But add a couple more pieces to the bullpen. You still got Acuna Jr., you still hopefully a healthy Mike Soroka. I like the Braves' chances.
Yeah, I think loaded. To me, Mark Melanson's a guy. If you could bring him in, and you know the job he did as a closer for you, bring him back, and I feel pretty good about this Braves team's chances. I know everybody sees the Lindor trade in New York, and I think the Braves are probably going to be picked behind them or the Nationals by a lot of people. That's fine. I think this team wears that underdog role just fine. The way that clubhouse comes together, like, hey, count us out. It's fine. We'll go out there and try to prove you wrong. So to me, if you're a Braves fan, you should be excited. I mean, obviously, we're looking at a full 162, which is better than what we got in 2020. But again, this is a team that's up on the trajectory here. You shouldn't feel like certain teams where you maybe just missed your window. And there's that palpable feeling you get from time to time, BJ and Ben, where you feel like, oh, that might have been the shot and we just missed it. I think people feel that way about the Falcons when they lost to the Patriots in just devastating fashion. It was like, that was the shot and we let it slip away to Tom Brady there. And maybe that was the window. And now here you are a couple years later down the road, and you still haven't been able to really put together a run. And you're talking about, is Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, are they pretty much done in Atlanta in the next year or two because they've crested and you got to start rebuilding. So I think this is a team that's still on the upward trajectory. It's like the Buffalo Bills. You still got more upward mobility to go here before you start going, oh, we're missing it. I feel good about this Braves team and their ability to go out and win. And I'm excited to see him get started next week. And again, give me a Mark Melancon to really feel good about the 9th inning. And I think this Braves team is, as you said yesterday, may not have as good a rotation as the Dodgers, but I'll stack them up against anybody and feel just fine about it.
Well, and I also think the success last postseason was validating. And Ben, you can speak to this, but I would imagine even for the highest caliber of athlete, even if you believe in yourself, it helps to kind of see it come to fruition. And Atlanta had dealt with the storylines of, oh, they can't win in the postseason, and they're blowing the big leads, or they have the catastrophic meltdown like they did against St. Louis. Well, they got in the postseason, and not only did they win a series, they were on the brink of making the World Series. And maybe there's a little bit of a disappointment, like you said, the missed opportunity against the Dodgers. But I'm with you. This feels different. What happened last year with the Braves than what happened with the Falcons, where with the Falcons you looked around and thought, yeah, that was your puncher's chance. I think Atlanta feels like they are still very much in their window, probably early on in their window in terms of the young talent the Braves have. I mean, guys like Acuna, Albies, certainly Riley and Pache and Swanson are still on the uptick. The rotation, we haven't even seen Ian Anderson really get his feet wet yet. Soroka still very early on. Fried really entering kind of his peak season in terms of being a go-to number 1 or number 2 starting pitcher. I think the Braves are a team that should scare the rest of baseball. And Kevin, I'll see what you think about this real quick. To me, the fact that the Mets are going out and making these blockbuster moves, I think that's because the Mets know. Because you can look at the Mets and say, hey, you already have an elite starting rotation. Do you need to take the risk of acquiring a Lindor? I think they felt like they had to because they know that the Braves are really, really good and aren't going anywhere for a while.
Yeah, and again, we know Braves are going to open up in Philly April 1, 3:05 first pitch against in-division foe in the Philadelphia Phillies. I'm excited about it. Pitchers and catchers will be back next Wednesday. We'll come back, switch gears, going to talk to Anthony Trace, Pro Football Focus, their draft guide out for 2021. We'll look at that. How does he see the Justin Fields, Zach Wilson situation there? Is who's going to come out on top on draft boards? We'll talk about it with him next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back to 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you were with us here on this Thursday. NFL draft, the next big marker. They're up on the NFL docket. Recently, Pro Football Focus put out their 2021 draft guide here to talk about some draft issues. Certainly there with the Atlanta Falcons and more. Anthony Trache, Pro Football Focus, joins us. Anthony, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well. How you guys doing?
Fantastic. Obviously, we're starting to see, this 'tis the season of mock drafts out there as well. A lot of folks talking about quarterback there in Atlanta. Where do you kind of see this thing with Justin Fields? Is it Justin Fields? Is it Zach Wilson? How do you kind of see the quarterback situation there for Atlanta as they're evaluating it?
Yeah, I think, no matter what, still a lot can change between now and the NFL draft. But I feel pretty comfortable with saying that I think the first three quarterbacks will be obviously Trevor Lawrence and then Zach Wilson and then Justin Fields. And I really do think somehow, some way, they're going to be taken 1, 2, and 3. And I could see a scenario with the Atlanta Falcons where they do kind of a Mitchell Trubisky scenario, like what the Chicago Bears did back in, I believe it's 2017, where they trade up just one spot just to secure him. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up doing that with the Miami Dolphins, because there is going to be a big trade market, because there's a lot of teams in need of a quarterback and a good one at that. So, you look at the Carolina Panthers, possibly the Philadelphia Eagles, the Denver Broncos, the 49ers, they're all in a position where they could possibly leapfrog Atlanta and get a quarterback ahead of them. And, I do think the smart thing for Atlanta would to take a quarterback, especially Justin Fields, and he kind of play that scenario out, just because, granted, we do like Zach Wilson over Justin Fields just because, the arm talent, the accuracy, the off-platform throws, all of that. It's just ridiculous with Zach Wilson, and the strength of competition was not great, but he made NFL-ready throws. And with Justin Fields, I do think there might be just a little bit of a learning curve. The blitz recognition wasn't great, and some of the coverage rotations kind of mixed him up a little bit. We saw it against Northwestern Indiana in the CFP semifinal a couple of years ago, not this past one, with Burt Reynolds there. So I think Justin Fields is the right guy for him, and I do think if it's going to be a quarterback, it would be him. Again, a lot can change, but I think that's how it would go.
In your mind, if Atlanta were to draft Justin Fields with their number 1 pick, would it be a situation where the expectation would be that Fields is coming in to clearly sit for this season and really not play at all? And are there many historical parallels for a quarterback going in the top 5 and not playing at all in year 1?
Yeah, I do think that would be their motive, sitting behind Matt Ryan and learning for a little bit. But I do think, in the best interest of the Atlanta Falcons from a team building perspective, I think they could, even with Matt Ryan's contract, it's a massive headache, they could get something done and trade him. And I do think that a team would be willing to pay a premium price for him just because the quarterback market isn't that much of a demand. So I do think they should do that. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I do think if Justin Fields does get brought in, he is going to sit, behind him there. And as for like historical parallels there, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, he was not a top 5 pick, but it kind of worked out for him. He waited a few years before he came in there. So, it's not, you don't really want to throw rookies into the fire right away if they don't have to. Patrick Mahomes sat out his first year, only had that one week 17 start there at the end of the season. So, it's not the end of the world not throwing him in there, week 1 right in the fire. Not every rookie quarterback's going to have immense success. Like Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, those are kind of 2 pretty big exceptions there. So I do think that would be, even though I wouldn't be mad if they didn't trade Matt Ryan, but I do think, from a team building perspective, I think they could get a pretty good haul for him despite that contract.
And Anthony, even getting back to the whole Zach Wilson situation, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about his ability to just improvise outside the pocket, not just his arm strength. Do you think that's more of, what teams are looking for now? Yeah, you want the Trevor Lawrence, a pocket passer guy, but you want a guy that can kind of like go off script, especially with these offensive lines who more like patchwork offensive lines and great offensive line play. Do you think that's what's putting Zach Wilson, over the top when you're talking about him, over a guy like Justin Fields?
Yeah, 100%. Justin Fields can do the same, but, Zach Wilson's kind of on, a whole nother level there. This past season, he had the second highest grade, when creating off structure and outside of the pocket, behind only Spencer Rattler, who is a guy that I'm really excited about 2022, but I'm getting ahead of myself to talk about him. But yeah, that's really what, makes Zach Wilson such a great prospect. And that's a lot of reasons why teams are looking at Mac Jones. And, I think some teams might be okay with it, but people look at guys like a Zach Wilson and say, I want that. Mac Jones can't do the same things, Zach Wilson can do outside of the pocket. And that's kind of the big knock on him. But that's a big, quality to have. And it's almost necessary in today's NFL to have that. These pocket passers are kind of dwindling just a little bit, and not having that type of mobility. Trevor Lawrence too. I mean, he has incredible mobility. I mean, probably the best in college football last season and over the last few years. So, I mean, that's really what makes, one of the quality traits that makes these three guys at the top of the draft board so special. And the reason why, you're looking at Trey Lance and how mobile he is, he doesn't have very, very good accuracy at all. Accuracy is king. That's the cream of the crop. And looking at the quarterback traits, he doesn't really have it. But the athleticism and the mobility is just so special in the physical tools that you just want to take a chance on them. So that is the way the NFL is trending. And, here in a few years, it's going to be interesting to see just how, this quarterback class in particular shakes out, just because, I mean, this is one of the most talented ones I've ever seen, and probably one of the most talented the NFL draft's ever seen.
All right, that being said, Anthony, you look at the quarterbacks, how many of these guys do you think potentially get taken in the first round, and how many of those do you think might be a reach when they get taken in the draft?
Yeah, up until the Bulls season started, I thought for sure we would see 6 in the first round. I thought we would tie that 1983 record. Now I'm not so sure Kyle Trask will be taken in the first round. I think he's going to be on the outside looking in. And I think there's understandable reasons why that is. In looking at, I do think there's going to be 5 taken in the first round. And Mac Jones is the biggest. I think Trey Lance is the biggest wild card as a prospect, but as far as where they're going to end up landing, I think Mac Jones is the biggest wild card, just because, you hear some things, he might go in the top 10. He may not even go in the first round. I think he's going to go in the first round. I'm on the side that he is actually probably going to be a top 10 pick, just because of that quarterback demand. There's going to be a lot of teams needing it. And, I think some team is going to look at the accuracy, the decision-making, the timing and processing he had in that Alabama offense, executing it to perfection, and really covet that. I mean, those are really good traits to have at the quarterback position. He's, like I said, he's not the most mobile guy. He can get the job done there, and his arm strength is good. It's not elite. It's not, Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance-esque. But I think some team's going to fall in love with those other important traits at the position to take him in the top 10. Whether he goes ahead of Trey Lance, I'm not so sure. I think I personally would prefer a guy like Mac Jones over Trey Lance. But it wouldn't surprise me if it did end up happening. But I do think we might actually see 5 quarterbacks go in the top 10 and then none for the rest of the first round.
Switching gears, you have a list of the top 10 quarterbacks coming back to college football. Some big time names there, obviously. Give us kind of the top of the group. Who are your elite quarterbacks returning to college football in 2021?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned him a bit ago, Spencer Rattler. I mean, this guy, I really do think he has a chance to be something special. He's kind of reminds me a little bit of Zach Wilson with some of the stuff he can do off platform too, outside the pocket and off structure. When people think of Spencer Rattler in his first season, they always think back to that Iowa State game, that Kansas State game, the ending interceptions, the game stealing ones of those, that one drive he was benched for a minute just because things kind of went haywire. But yeah, I mean, looking at the season as a whole, he performed exceptionally well. And he had a 92.5 PFF grade. That was a top 5 mark in his first full season starting. And, like I said, that he has the arm to win. I mean, the release too is just absolutely beautiful. I think he does have some reading issues inside the pocket, and he kind of reminds me a little bit too of. I'm not saying he's going to be this type of player at the next level, but he does remind me of Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. And, so I think he's one to keep an eye on for next year. Easily the Heisman favorite. Then after him, Sam Howell of North Carolina, De'Aaron King of Miami. And then after that, I think there's a pretty considerable drop off. I mean, those are the top 3 guys. I think so. I mean, Sam Howell's default is exceptional. I'd like to see them utilize that a little bit more, but it will be interesting to see how he fares without his top 2 wide receivers this season. And then De'Aaron King too. I mean, it's another mobile quarterback that can get the job done on the ground through the air. So I think that top 3 is pretty comfortable. But after that, I think it's going to be a pretty big shakeup in there. I expect DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson to make a move up there. I mean, he's got an absolute rocket for an arm. I'm excited to see what guys like Michael Penix Jr. of Indiana does when healthy. I mean, he does just about everything at the position at a quality level, just has been struggling to stay healthy in his career. And Keaton Slovis too. I mean, he's probably one of the most frustrating college quarterbacks I've ever watched, just because he flashes that high end play. He looks like he can be a top 3 guy. I mean, the accuracy was the only one that really rivaled Joe Burrow back in 2019 from our data. And then they're just these probably about 2 times a game, just these kind of head scratching, forceful throws. Like, come on, man, what are we doing? And then too, when in a collapsing pocket, he maneuvers the pocket well, but he just has to hold on to the ball. There's too many fumbles in there too. So he's one I'm keeping an eye on. But it's going to be another good quarterback group. But I expect the top 10 I had listed over at PFF.com to shake up a little bit throughout 2021 outside of that top 3.
I mean, even with your top 10 list, what you mentioned is star-studded. Do a guy like Desmond Ritter out of Cincinnati or maybe JT Daniels out of Georgia got a chance to be in that top 10 before it's all said and done in 2021?
Yeah, and I think those 2 quarterbacks in particular were the ones that, I was talking with Seth Galino, one of our other college analysts here. We were trying to make up this list, and those 2 were mentioned. And we're looking with Desmond Ritter. I mean, obviously he has a lot of value with his legs, but from a passing perspective, he's just been a little inconsistent. He had a passing grade below 70.0 this past season. And really the downfield accuracy was kind of spotty. He didn't really make any bad decisions with this downfield passing. He didn't really, give the defense an opportunity to make a play on the ball. He just really wasn't all that accurate. There's a lot of uncatchable balls downfield. And looking at the stable areas, the clean pocket passing, he was kind of short of the 25th percentile. And with JT Daniels, I think he's another one of the most interesting quarterbacks to watch next season, just because, that first game, his very first start, it was one of the best college performances I've ever seen, considering all things considered. I mean, he was not good back in 2018 as a true freshman. Of course, the torn ACL back in 2019, and then coming out and doing this year, after riding the bench there for a few weeks and with COVID and transferring. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. He had around a 95 PFF grade, if I recall that game. But then we really didn't see that again after the fact. In that next game, I think it was against South Carolina, he played okay, but that was all about the run game. I mean, the run game won him that game for sure. And then against Cincinnati, he really wasn't all that great. PFF grade kind of dipped off there at the end. So, it was a little bit of a smaller sample. And Miles Brennan was a guy who was in the top 10, who was a small sample guy. We were kind of debating that. So I think JT Daniels is probably the biggest wild card of next season, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does, end up being in that top 10, or Desmond Ritter too, for that matter.
Anthony Trace, Pro Football Focus, joining us here on 3 and Out. Anthony, you guys recently published your 2021 draft guide. Tell folks where they can find that and what you guys have laid out for them.
Yeah, over at PFF.com. I think we're about 250 player profiles deep. Our guy, lead draft analyst Mike Ritter, has been grinding this thing out for a few months now, and I think he might actually be adding about 80 more or something like that. I mean, we just keep adding them and adding any guy you can think of. So there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of good data, advanced scouting reports, about 3 pages for each guy. So over at PFF.com, be sure to check that out.
Anthony Trace, our guest here on 3 and Out. Anthony, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. And obviously everybody looking forward to the NFL draft. We've got much more to come here on 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you are with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Georgia, some big news there. Julian Rochester, Demetrius Robinson going to come back for their 6th season, taking advantage of that extra year of eligibility granted by the NCAA. Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, joins us here on 3 and Out. Mike, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well, guys. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. Julian Rochester, that's and Demetrius Robertson, big news. Certainly for Rochester coming back on that defense, a huge retention there for Kirby Smart.
Yeah, you hope for a good recovery for Julian. You know, he was having such a good season last year, and he went down in that Kentucky game. And, you know, really, they lost 4 starters in that game against Kentucky, and then Richard LeCount got in the accident that night on the motorcycle. And next game up was Florida. It really hurt to lose Julian. He's such a veteran player and such a presence, and give you so many valuable snaps in that interior line. But him coming back with Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt and Jalen Carter, I dare say Georgia has the best interior defensive line in college football. And then we just have to see what D-Rob does. You hope for a really good, strong, and healthy off season. We know they're going to throw the football more at Georgia. Pretty deep receiving core. You hope he can get some momentum coming out of 2021.
So where is Georgia now scholarship-wise? And assuming they have a couple left over, what are they looking to do with those spots before the season?
Yeah, a couple open right now. You got to figure there's going to be some more attrition after spring drills when, guys see where they're at on the depth chart. Georgia needs DBs. They got to get a DB transfer or 2. If they're going to compete for a championship. They lost most of their secondary last year. They bring back Lewis Sane, and, he's a headhunter, great player. But after that, you lost 3 cornerbacks, Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell, and DJ Daniel. And as we mentioned, Richard LeCount also coming out. So some reloading to do in the secondary, but, boy, this sure looked good everywhere else.
And, Mike, I mean, was Georgia, ever actually close to losing Dan Lanning and Dale McGee?
Well, I don't think, I think, Dan Lanning was a threat. Texas tried to hire Dan away, and he got a decent-sized raise. And I'm sure Auburn probably talked to Del McGee based on his raise. It wasn't, I didn't think the running backs had a great year, so I don't think Del got a raise based on the running backs' performance. But I do think there's always interest in Auburn. You take a look at what, Brian Harson's been able to do with that staff already. I mean, Derek Mason is a really good football coach. And Vanderbilt is a hard place to coach, but that guy is really good. And I think Mike Bobo, has done some good things over the course of his career. So, that Auburn staff, I'm sure they look to try and get Dell, as he's been one of the better recruiters in the SEC.
But, Mike, that seems to be the name of the game, though, right? I mean, unless you're Alabama, because nothing of the norms applies when you're talking about Alabama, but the Clemson model, some of the other teams that are there at the top of college football, get your assistants, get them paid, and keep them.
Yeah, if you can, but good assistants go, they get promoted and they have opportunities to move on. If they're getting head coaching jobs or coordinator positions, that happened this last year with Charlton Warren, going from secondary coach to D coordinator at Indiana. I mean, you go back, look at some of the guys off Kirby's staff. I mean, Shane Beamer, he's now the head coach at South Carolina. Mel Tucker, now the head coach at Michigan State. And of course, Pittman. He's now the head coach at Arkansas. Hard to keep those guys when they're getting promoted. Sooner or later, Dan Lanning is going to get that head coaching opportunity.
I was going to say, talk if you can about Lanning's progression from a guy that maybe wasn't a huge national name not long ago to someone that's had remarkable success and is now a part of seemingly every rumor that occurs in the offseason.
Yeah, well, Dan's 34 years old. He's still on the younger side, but certainly he's accomplished when you look at what he's done the last 2 years. Georgia's led the nation in run defense, and I think he's shown you that he can develop great players when you look at Azeez Ojulari and Azeez being a likely first-round draft pick. That's kind of one of Dan's monsters there on the edge. Is Georgia's produced some really good pass rushers out there. I think Adam Anderson due for a big year. We'll see what Nolan Smith can do, a former number 1 recruit. Really hasn't done much. Too early to call Nolan a bust, but when you're the number 1 overall recruit in the country, you think that he'd get in the starting lineup the first 2 years, but it's been tough at Georgia where there's been a lot of talent at that position. This should be Nolan Smith's coming out party this season.
And Mike, no short of talent in that running back room. I know it was real different for Georgia fans last year, watching those guys just light it up through the air. What's going to be the balance, or is there going to be balance with a crowded running back room? A lot of receivers coming back. Is it going to be more balanced in the running pass, or are they going to just let JT Daniels kind of lead the way?
Well, I think they're going to throw the football more. I think it's going to be a controlled pass game, a highly effective, efficient game. We use the backs. And, James Cook is a guy that has shown you he can catch the ball. Kenny McIntosh as well. And I saw Kendall Milton do some things. Just kind of makes me wonder where Zamir White is at in the mix. Don't think he was the best running back last year. I think there was some loyalty from Del McGee to Zamir. But Kenny McIntosh, if you look at some of the metrics, was probably the best all-around back. James Cook had some great plays in the passing game, and I thought Kendall Milton, when he was healthy, was the best runner between the tackles. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's still on the roster after spring drills and going into next season. I'm not sure there's enough ball to go around for the guys that are currently in that running backs room.
And we've seen Georgia deal with that before, but what's the mix when you're just that stacked at the running back spot? I can't imagine guys are willing to say, especially guys who have been there, hey, I'm cool with 5-6 carries a game, maybe on a good Saturday, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that workload's going to break down. Again, I wasn't very impressed with Georgia's run game last year, really. I mean, you think back to getting stopped at the 1-yard line against Tennessee before halftime and some of the short yardage situations. When you really needed the run game against Florida, it wasn't there, and it wasn't a very good Florida defense. I mean, you got to make the plays when they ring the bell. You got to make plays, and they weren't able to run the ball on Florida. And once Stetson Bennett got injured on that second drive, that was pretty much all she wrote. I mean, Georgia's up 14-0, at the 11-minute mark, and then Bennett's going to the locker room to get his shoulder looked at, and all hell breaks loose because you can't run the ball, and you go 3 and out 4 out of the next 5 series. Kyle Trask goes back there and plays Papa shot with, half that defense out injured or missing. So, you can't have those kind of breakdowns. That was a discouraging loss. Losing to Florida is a failure now if you're Georgia. It used to be I remember Georgia fans talk, oh, if you could just get one. Listen, you ought to be beating Florida every year now, okay? You got the coach, you got the facilities, you have more talent than Florida. My goodness, Dan Mullen is serving a show cause order right now, and Florida has some sanctions coming up, and they just lost their Heisman Trophy quarterback finalist and their top 3 pass catchers. So Georgia has momentum back, but they really need to cash in this year, get back to the SEC championship game.
I know the passing attack has the potential to be very productive. How big of a factor could Dominic Blaylock be after what was a huge 2019?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he comes back from that knee. George Pickens is the number 1 target. Make no mistake about that. George is going to be a guy that's going to approach 100 catches this year. You look for really big things from George Pickens. He's such an incredible player, and he's in the film room, and him and JT Daniels have really struck it off well. So I look for really, really big things from Pickens. But there's other guys, right? Jermaine Burt is extremely talented. He's a guy with some incredible measurables and speed and jumping ability. You mentioned Blaylock and how consistent he was, in 2019. You wonder how he comes back. But, Aaron Smith, might be the fastest guy in the SEC. I mean, this guy is hard to overthrow. And you saw Darnell Washington. You got a 6'7", 265 tight end with gloves like that. I mean, this guy just reaches up and snatches the ball out of the air. And he'll knock you down, too. So, you've got quite an arsenal. That's why I said, for someone like Demetrius Robertson, hey, D-Rob's got some work to do to get on the field, right? And it's going to be real interesting. We haven't even mentioned Kearis Jackson yet. Will he even get 20 catches next year? John, they got some guys. John Fitzpatrick, the big 6'7", possession tight end. So got some targets out there. We mentioned Cook, Kenny Mack in that pass game. So I do think you're going to see more passes than runs next season for the Bulldogs.
And Mike, even getting back to the Florida game, obviously, when you think about recruiting, it's going to definitely be Kirby Smart. When you think about development, people are going to think more Dan Mullen. If Florida finds a way to beat a loaded Georgia team this year, what is that going to say about not necessarily the Georgia program, but maybe Kirby Smart as a coach?
It won't happen.
There you go. Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, joining us here on 3 and Out. Mike, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Hey, appreciate it. Hey, I was a punctuation mark to end on right there with Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, joining us. We've got more to come. We'll respond to that and more. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben will take 3 coming up next hour, top of next hour. Also, still to come, a little buy, sell, hold, Braves edition as well. But BJ, Ben, got to respond there. The most succinct breakdown and answer I think we've ever had on the show from a guest. Ben's last question. What happens if Florida beats Georgia? Won't happen.
I mean, he better hope it don't, because he gonna hate me if it does. I mean, like I say, he better hope it don't, because he ain't gonna like me next time we. I mean, look, I'm not taking nothing away from Georgia, right? But like he said, Georgia spotted Florida 14 and lost. And the whole thing about it is people are going to talk about, who Georgia didn't have. Well, Georgia was a better team than Georgia was a better team than Florida in 2020, and they still lost. They was a better team this year and still lost. So I expect the whole Georgia beat writers, man, to be. I mean, I've been up in that press box. They coming in with their Georgia stuff. I ain't mad at him, but he better hope that they don't lose. Because see, this is a
question to keep that sound. By the way, we're gonna.
This is the thing, though. What's his name, Christian? What to be coming on from Georgia? The one that said something to me about Brooks.
Don't bring Brooks into this.
Just hold on. You notice Brooks real humble when he talk now, right? He don't really say nothing to me now, right? He don't really, he don't really say anything. Let's keep it about Georgia. He don't really say, no, I will bring Brooks in, because Brooks has something to say. I ain't say nothing. But this is the thing, though.
No, if you think about what Brooks said, actually right. No. What Brooks said was actually right. We were at the stadium after Georgia won in 2019. He said, "Don't worry, Big Ben. They'll win again." And they won. So, I mean, Brooks was right.
No. That's not what he said. No, that's not what he said. He kept asking me, was I all right? That's what he kept asking me. I knew that Florida was going to win again. I mean, it's not like Georgia's going to just continuously beat Florida. That wasn't going to happen. I mean, when the last time Georgia beat Florida 4 times in a row? 2000 to 2003. I was there. Nobody's going to worry about Georgia, because, like I said, Georgia's going to have a better team than Florida. They've had a better team the last 4 years, and they lost. Old boy better hope that they don't lose, because if they do, I'm just saying.
BJ,
I do like the healthy banter back and forth. I do like
it. It just shows you the power of this rivalry, right?
Salty.
We're talking about it on February 11th, and it feels like the game's tomorrow.
Man, I love going to Florida, Georgia with Ben, because Ben has, the element of professionalism. He's there. He's breaking down the game. Obviously, during game week, he's talking a lot about the game from a Georgia perspective, given when we're on where we're on the radio. And then we get there, and obviously Ben did some pretty historic things down in Jacksonville. And when we walk into the stadium, right, Christian, you see kind of the mood change. And Ben, you've done a good job, man. You've done a good job going to the games, covering the games, because you obviously. I mean, real talk. It's one thing for me to go to a game and watch my favorite team that I grew up rooting for. You are an instrumental part of the rivalry's history. You have one of the great catches in the history of the game. You're in the Florida-Georgia Hall of Fame. So I've been very impressed watching you flip the switch to being the professional media member and kind of just watching it. Maybe if Florida punch, you get up and go get a corn and come back. Now you did have to take a substantial break one time, but look, man, it's been fun going to the game with you.
I'm not. Listen, at the end of the day, I mean, I take it all. I mean, I'm not trying to make it seem as if what he's saying doesn't have any weight to it. Georgia is a good team. They're going to be an incredibly good team.
Fight Griffith. It's okay. You can say that.
No, man. I don't want to fight nobody.
There's a little heat behind this where it's like Mike is offended that Ben even asked the question. Which I thought
Mike. The
question.
No. The thing about it with Mike is this is what it is. I don't think it was me. I guarantee he's been being asked that. He like, it won't happen. Like, I'm not giving you nothing political. No, it won't happen. And look, if you see what Georgia bringing back, that's what you should walk around with confidence. But Mike, just like me, he don't got to go out there. And Mike better hope they get that dub, because I'm telling you, I keep it professional. Even with the whole Brooks situation, man. I mean, I take it all. I mean, I'm not gonna act like
a dangerous place, because Ben's a big person. When you're talking bleep to Ben in a enclosed elevator, that's a dangerous game.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, at the end of the day, I gotta be able to take it too. I dish it a lot. No, I can take it because I dish it out a lot. I just know that I've never been answered that way. Won't happen. Oh, okay.
I'm so happy, man. That was the one time this year that I've been happy that you weren't coming into the office on a Monday. I was like, all right.
I'm probably not gonna go back to another game. I'm probably not gonna go to this year's game because we won last year when I wasn't there. So I'm probably gonna have to just send somebody else. I can't. Press box is rough.
Georgia beats Florida again.
No. I'm just that press box is rough. I mean, Christian, you be hearing them. They be like, hey, they be scoring. Guys be up there cheering.
I tried to be so professional in 2019, but I hugged BJ at the end when Fromm hit Wolf on that clinching third down. It was like a slight lean to the right hug, but it was the first time I broke professionalism in the press box.
And I think I was ignoring everybody because Florida State was losing to Miami like 28-6.
Nah, man. I love it though. I'm not gonna act as if because I like the fact that it resonates not just with current players, former players, alumni. Everybody gets involved in. If you're a beat writer, you say, "Look, you know what side we on. I know we're not supposed to wear Georgia, a big G on our polos, but hey, I want you to know what squad we on. It's cool, but at the same time, man, I mean, we get 1 year bragging rights.
No, we'll let Dave calm down for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and we'll take three. We'll get to that and more. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live, ESPNcoastal.com, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. We're coming right back. Take 3 around the corner. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. I'm glad you are with us here on this Thursday. A lot to get to this hour, including, if I can take a look at my rundown, we will talk about some of the biggest offseason questions in the NFL, ESPN.com, giving some mad props to the Atlanta Falcons in one area. We'll tell you about that. Also, previewing the ACC Coastal here as they head into spring, a side of the conference, certainly in a lot of upheaval there, as it's been topsy-turvy for the last decade or so, and it not showing signs of settling down anytime soon. So we'll get to that coming up a little bit later this hour. But first, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. Take 1. It is National Guitar Day. What is the best guitar solo ever?
All right, first, Kevin, I got to get some perspective from this on you because, or perspective from you, because I have tried to play the guitar just like at a very rudimentary level, right? Where you watch the YouTube videos and you have like a basic understanding and knowledge, and it is physically impossible for me. Like I cannot make my finger. You can play the guitar fairly well. I've heard you do it. How long did it take you to kind of learn the craft?
Learn the craft. The true learning never ends. I'm not very I'm not very good as compared to like what I would consider good, but no, it helped that I had a musical background in general. So like the strumming part of it was pretty simple as far as it came naturally too, because of just keeping the rhythm side of things. So I had one lesson when I was 17, right after I graduated college. I got my first guitar, got my first real 16. I started college. I started college at 17. I graduated high school, at 17. I could have Doogie Howser D. But no, I had one lesson to kind of show me some chords, and then I got a song book that was based on some basic chords and stuff, and so I kind of taught myself some of that stuff from there forward. So I've really like to say I've had one real lesson, and then I've picked up a bunch of stuff from other people along the way. Yeah,
I got a couple of guys in the office that can jam. Mark obviously can jam on the guitar, but when I think about great guitarists, my mind immediately goes to Jimi Hendrix. Really listened to a lot of Jimi Hendrix when I was in college, and I think like Little Wing is probably up there. A lot of people would say All Along the Watchtower. I mean, he was just doing crazy stuff that kind of was hard to even intellectually follow because it was so much talent. On a more modern front, I really liked Oasis a lot when I was in college. You think about the guitar solo in like Live Forever. I think that was a pretty good one. So AC/DC
turning into a top 10 list.
I'm sorry. God forbid we reflect on some positive guitar memories. I mean, I should have just said again, you and Christian want me to have like 4-word answers in a segment that's supposed to be 15 minutes long. We're supposed to talk it out. But if I have to meet your needs, I will say Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix.
A lot of guys out there, BJ, you said, Jimi Hendrix, obviously Prince comes to mind. But to me, it's Chuck Berry. No particular place to go. Chuck Berry. As soon as the thing about it is most people probably don't even know Chuck Berry sang that, but so you already know what it is. So to me, Chuck Berry, who probably inspired most people who play the guitar now, Kevin, he inspired a lot of people to do it. But to me, Chuck Berry, no particular place to go. You know the words, even if you don't know the words.
Hey, Run Rudolph by Chuck Berry got played like 1,000 times.
Chuck Berry is the man. He is.
I think Chuck Berry did the I don't know what they call it, the little movie. There's like the guitar strut or something like that, or the duck walk, or whatever it is.
That's what he was known for, the duck walk. He was known for the duck walk. Look at Kevin. Kevin go. I dilly and dab a little bit with the guitar.
Well, I'm not gonna unlike BJ. I'm not gonna come here and be like, I can shred. I wouldn't say that.
You mostly play chords.
I play songs that I can sing to. That's what I like to play, because when I play by myself, that's how entertainment. That's how I teach myself, is like, hey, find a song to play, and I learn off of that song and figure it out. Not necessarily, hey, here's 5 chords, just play them over and over. That's probably not the best way to do it, but that's just how I do.
Okay.
Hold on, give me. Hold on, ask BJ, but give me like 10 seconds. I want to show you something real quick, Kevin. Talking about a guitar, can I show you mine? I never played it, but I do have one. You got to tell me if it's nice.
Yeah, we'll stall until you come back on the show.
Your answer yet.
My answer, wow, there's so many. that you could choose.
No.
I'm saying, but I haven't started a top 10 list or anything. I'm just saying, Christian and I talked about this before the show. I was like, man, this is gonna be hard to like whittle down to just one. And then Christian starts playing nothing but guitar riffs coming back into the show.
And
I'm like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's a good one.
That for the whole segment.
Is it nice, Kevin?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
You never know in this house. You got all kinds of stuff.
I mean, do you want me to go get my guitar?
Well, we hold on. We were talking about guitar. It's not like I knew it was going to be on the show.
All right, hold on.
But Kevin is the right. Kevin. Now we have guitar envy. But I want to say this, Kevin.
All right, yeah, hit us up on Twitter. Would you like us just to have a jam session on 3 and Out one day?
Yes.
Christian can play a little bit. You can play. BJ's got his guitar over there now.
Okay.
Now it's a party. Now everybody's got it going on. One I will just say that I like is White Stripes. The Ball and a Biscuit. I think Jack White
highly underrated.
Shreds it up on that song. So I will go with that. Down. But there's like 10,000 of them that I could pick that are awesome.
Instead of best, because I think that's very subjective. What about greatest? Because I think when you say greatest guitar solo ever, iconic wise,
it's all a matter of taste.
I think it's Freebird.
I mean,
and I just like to present to the listeners. I just like to present to the listeners this best greatest divide was not introduced by me.
It's true. It's true.
So this is National Guitar Day.
Do you guys want to know? We can all collectively make fun of him. Do you want to know what Cam said to this question?
What did he say?
He said the Goofy Goober guitar solo from the SpongeBob movie.
That's the best ever.
I mean, he took down like a king, like literally, like used laser beams out of the guitar, turned into a wizard for a second.
Okay. Moving on.
Can Jimi Hendrix do that?
I can't move forward. I can't move forward on that question. Here we go. Moving on. Take 2. Today, BJ, Burt Reynolds would have been Burt Reynolds' 85th birthday. Legendary actor. What is your favorite Burt Reynolds movie?
And I'm going to be honest. I told you this in the show meeting. I have not seen a lot of Burt Reynolds movies.
Whoa. He's a Florida State legend. Do you know who Burt Reynolds' roommate was?
Rick Sunshine Scooter, man.
Yeah. Lee
Corso.
Really?
Yes, that's a heck of a dormitory. And Lee Corso said, I used to just hang around Burt Reynolds because, the people of the opposite sex just seem to flock to him. It's like, well, yeah, it's damn Burt Reynolds.
They like Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, I have been at Florida State games before where Burt Reynolds has been there, and they show him on the Jumbotron. But in terms of movies, now I will say this: like a couple of times I've been at my dad's house and he's been watching movies and he's telling me about them. But Kevin and I were joking about this because the original Longest Yard, obviously generations ago, and then the modern Longest Yard, Burt Reynolds comes out there as like, what's his name, Nate Scarborough, the Heisman winner from Oklahoma, and it's like. And it's like Burt Reynolds is out there showing them how to play and, helping cause a little chaos. So I think the fact that he came back in the second Longest Yard still had kind of the classic cool to him and was a Heisman Trophy winner, no less. So I'll go with his role in the latest modern Longest Yard.
This is so easy. I mean, Burt Reynolds is a legend. Man, it's Smokey and the Bandit. Man, listen, he's bound down. I'm just saying, like, and the thing is, him, Sally Field, they drive through. The sheriff, you got him. You got him, Sheriff. He's right there. He'll go, hey, Sheriff. And he gets ready. Here comes the Suave. Here comes the Smooth to just get out of it. And it's always, hey, Paul. He's like, boy, I told your mama not. That stuff used to be beautiful. I mean, it was because, obviously, I was a big Dukes of Hazzard fan growing up or whatever. Then I see Smoking the Bandit. I'm like, all right, Burt Reynolds, he the man. When you got a car that never gets dirty, can jump 30 miles down. I mean, jump over anything. The tires never get messed up. Yeah, it's Smokey and the Bandit all day, every day.
It's true. I think that's like he's been in a lot of good ones. I will say for me, that's my favorite Burt Reynolds movie as well. I only take my hat off.
Didn't he live in Waycross for a while?
According to some research we did, that is correct. We got some refuting claims of that, but yes, apparently that is true. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I mean, it's on the internet. It must be true.
Well, obviously.
But
yeah.
no, it's we did some deep diving on the research and found out Burt Reynolds for a time in his young childhood lived there in Waycross. All right, moving on. Take 3. Sunday is Valentine's Day. What is your strategy for gift giving on Valentine's Day?
Well, arts and crafts, always the right way to go. And I've been trying to help Kevin kind of move into his artistic expressionary side for a couple of years now. And I'm sad that I haven't been around him in person this week to kind of help cultivate that. But look, I'm not going to lie. This may have started my kind of passion for arts and crafts and scrapbooking because I was more limited financially, whereas a lot of people, hey, I can go out and get some jewelry or even, the roses. I mean, this stuff is expensive, right? And that's fine. But if you're a little limited, there's a great way to kind of show your love by reflecting what's in your heart and doing it in a creative capacity. And I think scrapbooking is a very valuable way to not only share your emotion and kind of your intimate memories with somebody else, but it's a great way to kind of rekindle the fire in your own soul. Because when you're looking at pictures or you have mementos or you have kind of accessories that are relevant to you and a loved one, and you're holding them and you're arranging them and you're organizing them logistically, it's stimulating. It brings back memories that have maybe kind of faded with time. So look, all of us have creative elements to our brain. Every single one of us might be different, might manifest itself in kind of unique ways, but you're talking about poetry. You're talking about photography. You're talking about, again, arts and crafts. Ben, you have helped me put together, quite honestly, you have helped me put together some projects.
I didn't know you would. I thought when you just tell me about the arts and crafts, I thought it was just like, oh, maybe he just talked about it. But then when you saying, no, that's not the right color. So you really into it. You outside of writing, you really like the arts and crafts.
No, I'm trying to think.
BJ, this is interesting because we actually have audio from you when you decided it was going to be arts and crafts instead of going out and buying jewelry. This is actually BJ at a jewelry store looking at prices.
That's yep. I can say that quote is accurate. No, but listen, Ben, you helped me build the birdhouse. You helped me build the clock. Ben has helped me, and by help me, he's driven me to the store,
which you could not have done without me. So yeah, so without me, it's just a hope and a dream.
That's what I'm saying. But look, and you might be a little uncertain, you might be a little unsure, but as long as it's from the heart, man, tap into that authenticity, that genuine love and care. That's special, man. That is special in life, to care about somebody and to want to kind of create that with your own hands. That's what this is all about. Let's do it. Let's step outside of our comfort zone. Maybe step away from things that we've done in the past that are nice, but try something unique. Give it a shot. See how it goes. Let's try. I challenge America. Let's try to make something or create something for those we love.
No, okay. So I am the offspring of John Wesley Truth. My daddy, and I learned from the best. I used to be like, Daddy, man, what you be getting on Valentine's Day? And my daddy said, son, I'm gonna get her something. See, he'll never tell me what it is. He just say, you better get her something, because if she gets nothing, you are in the doghouse forever. So BJ gonna do the arts and crafts. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why Hallmark was invented. It was invented for the 14th of February. People go, well, Ben, they don't want that. Yes, they do. It is better that they look at you in your face and go, you got me this, you could have got me. I could have got you this on the other day, but I got it for today. And, for those of you who do like the sweets, they'll be like, well, Ben, what kind of sweets? Get them the type of sweets you like. That way, if she go, I don't want, some of these will get eaten. So in this household, I'm going to go to Hallmark, get some nice stuff that I can write. I got bad handwriting, but, BJ, try to put the words together like, like, Earl, when I think of you, my world just ends. Just make up something nice. Like, I'm just saying, just get to put that, because
your world ends like your world ends.
Listen, this is my bedtime story, arts and crafts, because without me one year, you wouldn't have got it. So I'm just saying, I know you got the penmanship over there, DJ, but I'm just saying, I'm not Christian with the hair. I'm not Kevin. I'm not Kevin with the New Balances. You know what I'm saying? I'm not BJ with the arts and crafts. I'm gonna go Listen, I got something. I'm gonna build it up. I got something for you. What? I'm trying to tell you. You might want to wait on this one. Hey, slow down now. I got you put a little bag with all the little stuff in it, little shrubbery, and you just give her some knickknacks. My daddy used to, I said, Daddy, I mean, you and Mama, that's y'all business. I don't really want to, but I just want to, I do the Kevin route. Get her something. She gonna like it, and that way she can be like, where you keep all my letters at that I be getting you? I hope you put them in the box. I'm just saying, loving you is easy, cuz.
But just to ask for the fellas out there listening right now, if they say it's been a tough year, let's just stay in. You don't have to give me anything. Is that a trap?
That kind of stuff work. See, Christian. Let me tell you what you're doing, Christian. You was born in the 90s. No, Christian. You know what you're showing right now? You showing hope. That's a young man's game. You ain't no hope left when you get older. That's out the window. So I'm just saying, Christian, what you gonna get, Christian? Before we get to Kevin.
Oh, I'm still single, gang. What's up?
You know what, Christian? Woo! So you can't get somebody something if you're single. Yeah, can't have a Valentine's to be single.
Me and my wallet are gonna hang out.
I think that sounds like a great idea.
And Kevin, listen.
How does your wife feel about this?
She feels the same way. If she feels any differently about me on Sunday than she did Saturday or next Monday, then it is what it is.
So Kevin,
I've been pretty consistent here with all this.
Kevin, what you gonna get?
What am I? You already know what I'm gonna get. Hey, listen. BJ, I've been staunch against this. I don't like wishing people happy birthday on Facebook and all the stuff like that because, hey, if you could do it to their face, why do I have to say it? I love my wife every day. I tell her this, I don't need Valentine's Day, and I've never asked her to get me anything either. So I'm like, listen, don't need Valentine's Day to validate it. What about what we did a week ago? That was done out of love.
What did you do a week ago?
Exactly. That don't matter. That's the kind of stuff that it's hey, remember when we did this? You're like, oh, that was kind of spontaneous and nice. Yeah. Last week it didn't matter. Now you gonna have it today.
Hold on. What about last weekend? You remember last weekend? It was spontaneous. What did you do, Kevin?
Hey.
I know what you did. Kevin, last weekend, did you take your glasses off?
Hey. I'm embarrassing BJ here on the show.
No, Christian started this. Christian started this when he said, wait.
No, I was saying, listen.
Weekend, I'm just saying. So Kevin, you spurred a moment.
Exactly. Look, I'm not saying it's for everybody. I'm just saying, look, I tell my wife, hey, if you would like something, tell me and I will get it for you. It doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day or whatever. So, I do things throughout the year and things of that nature. It's fine. I don't buy into hey, if you don't do something on February 14th, you don't love me. Well, you had 13 and a half, 14 almost years to figure out that I love you. If you don't know by now, got a problem.
Okay.
We in this together.
You never know. Kevin is dropping gems.
You get hung up on a day on the calendar and not about who's right in front of you. That's all I'm saying.
So all you say, BJ, you hear Kevin say, listen, I don't do all that man-made holidays, social norms. Kevin Thomas love is every day. That's just another day to him. And Kevin spurred a moment. I don't like to be on schedule. BJ?
Everybody I want. It's fine.
No, look, I agree. You do stuff during the year too. I'm just saying you don't show up to work on Saturday because it's Saturday. I'm just saying.
No, Kevin show up to work every day.
I do show up to work on Saturday.
BJ, you was looking at Kevin when he was saying, "Listen, man, last weekend, I said, hey." Okay,
that's none of my business.
I don't know. All I said, Christian started.
Kevin was trying to make everybody's business. Apparently,
I wasn't. I was asked. Anyway, we'll come back. Let's take enjoy Valentine's Day.
We know Kevin will.
It'll be just like every other day at my house.
Wow! Congratulations.
Yeah, exactly. All across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out here on this Thursday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We'll break down the ACC Coastal Division coming up in just a little bit. But ESPN.com putting out some of the biggest offseason questions, answering some of those questions. Well, which new coach will have the most wins in 2021, the National Football League? Jeremy Fowler, Mina Kimes actually said Arthur Smith with the Atlanta Falcons. Does that mean, in your estimation, that Arthur Smith's going to come in and do something revolutionary, or this is a team that a lot of people think was a very talented roster that underachieved the last 2 and 3 seasons?
Yeah, I think probably more of the latter. I think the talent is there. I mean, if you can add a couple of defensive pieces through the draft, I know you're probably limited with what you can do in free agency, but if you can add a couple of defensive pieces, even if you get your quarterback, I think this is a roster that looks pretty good. And if you can have a different message, I mean, I don't know what it was with Dan Quinn, the start of the last couple of seasons, but if you can just turn that energy around, I think there's a really good chance the Falcons are in position to contend. Now, compared to some of the other new head coaching spots, I think Smith's in a really good place. I mean, you look at what Robert Saleh has to do in New York with the Jets. I mean, a lot of work there. You look at Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, a lot of work, a lot of progress, even with Trevor Lawrence, you have to make there. I think Brandon Staley with the Chargers could have some success, similar to Arthur Smith. He's got a good roster. You talk about, Bosa and Ingram and Herbert and what he's done if Derwin James is back healthy. So I could see Staley and the Chargers making a push. But, yeah, I think Ben Smith is in a good spot.
I mean, Smith is in a good spot, but I still think, BJ, don't sleep on Urban Meyer too fast. I mean, you talk about an AFC South that if you can find a way to tackle, that monster up there, with them Titans, you got a chance to get it done. But don't sleep on Nick Sirianni. I mean, you in the NFC East to where the Washington football team won the freaking thing last year, and the whole division was god awful. The whole division was bad. They making hype videos in Dallas that don't got Dak Prescott on it. The Washington football team, they still trying to figure out who their quarterback of the future gonna be. May God help the Giants. I mean, they're gonna need all the help they can get. I just think that when you look at this roster for Nick Sirianni, he got a pretty veteran-laden roster. I don't know what's gonna go on. With Carson Wentz, that's still out there. What's gonna go on with him. And Jalen Hurts, but for my money, I like Smith, but I just think the NFC East is so awful that somebody's going to win it. So I think Nick Sirianni got a chance to kind of have the most wins and, dare I say, win that division.
Again, I think it'll be interesting to see what Atlanta can do. A lot of upside there as well, and you saw some bright spots. They actually regular season played really well against the Kansas City Chiefs defensively. Couldn't score, and then you turn around and Taysom Hill works you over against the Saints. So twice by Taysom Hill. So to me, Atlanta's an interesting choice there as far as what they can do. But I do think if Matt Ryan is there, Julio Jones is there, and you draft smartly here, I think this is a team that in 2021 should be talking about why can't they make the playoffs, even though they're drafting obviously in the top 5.
Well, and I think this draft is deep enough, as we've talked about, to where let's say you get a Fields or a Wilson, for my money, hopefully a Fields, if you decide to go quarterback in the top 5. I still think there's enough depth in this draft where you could probably get a couple of starters / part-time starters, pseudo starters defensively the rest of the way. I mean, once you get into the second round, the third round, there may be edge rushers in place like Quincy Roche out of Miami, Peyton Turner out of Houston, Joe Asai out of Texas. These are really good players who are ready to contribute right away or along the interior to pair with Grady Jarrett. I mean, Marvin Wilson out of Florida State potentially may be there in the second round. I think a Tyler Shelvin out of LSU could be there. From a cover corner standpoint, and Ben, I think we all agree you need to add a corner in addition to an edge rusher. I think a Tyson Campbell from Georgia or an Eric Stokes from Georgia could be there in the second round. Paulson Adebo from Stanford could be there in the third round. These are guys that are ready to come in and play. Even if you need to add a linebacker, I think an Earl Thompson from Mississippi State and Ernest Jones from South Carolina might be there in kind of the the third, fourth, fifth range. So I think there's a chance to get better defensively, even if you go quarterback with the fourth overall pick.
As long as you making the draft, something to where you're gonna go at defense, or you're gonna make it one because you don't have money to go at the free agents. The free agents is gonna come and go when you talk about the Falcons. But I mean, if you're gonna go into the draft knowing that we're gonna focus on defense after our first pick, yeah, because like I said, this NFC South, yes, you're gonna have to deal with the Tampa Bay Bucks. But the thing about it is you play the Kansas City Chiefs really, really tough. You obviously you used to play the New Orleans Saints tough when they had, I don't know, a real quarterback, not named Taysom Hill back there. I mean, Taysom Hill got 2 touchdowns against that secondary and that defense. But yeah, BJ, I do think, but they're going to have to get a running back. They're going to have to get one. I know we always talk about don't get one.
Well, and let me say this too, Ben, about the running back position. I think there's great depth here as well. I don't know if there's somebody you love. To me, if Travis Etienne is there at whatever it is, 35 or where the Falcons pick in the second round, I'm taking Travis Etienne. But if he's not, and you go later in the draft, I think Chuba Hubbard is going to be there in the mid rounds. I think Jared Patterson out of Buffalo is going to be there. I think Khalil Herbert out of Virginia Tech is going to be there. Rakeem Boyd out of Arkansas. I think you're going to have some really accomplished Elijah Mitchell out of Louisiana, some really accomplished running backs that are there in the 4th, 5th, 6th, maybe even the 7th round.
We're gonna see just how great of an offensive mind Arthur Smith is. I mean, it's easy to trying to go out there and see what he did when you had a guy, the leading rusher, the offensive player of the year, and Derrick Henry. But yeah, they're gonna have to get a running back with BJ. I think they're gonna have to be more balanced on offense to get the best out of Julio and Matty Ice. But they're gonna have to address that defense. Dare I say again, it is 2021, and we are still talking about an elite pass rusher for the Atlanta Falcons, who haven't had an elite pass rusher since what? Chuck Smith, John Abraham. I'm just saying it's been a long time. They're gonna have to find a way to get one because they're not gonna survive in that division without one.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll look ahead to the spring ACC Coastal Division. We hit the Atlantic Division yesterday. SouthernPigskin.com. Piece up for the ACC Coastal Division Power Rankings. Where do they stand? We'll break it down next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here on this Thursday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, live on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. You can check us out there at ESPN Coastal on YouTube as well. ACC Coastal Division, we hit the Atlantic yesterday. SouthernPigskin.com's got the pre-spring power poll. BJ, how do you see it here in the Coastal, which coming into last season, 7 straight years, 7 different winners in the ACC Coastal Division?
Yeah, it's been really fascinating. And I think looking ahead to this fall, you're going to have 2 national contenders in North Carolina and Miami. And these early rankings we have for 2021 are pre-spring. I think right now I lean North Carolina over Miami. A part of that is because, of course, you have Miami's star quarterback, De'Aaron King, coming off of a torn ACL. He will not partake in spring practice. Hopefully he's good to go, and I'm sure he will be at the start of the schedule later in the year. But I lean North Carolina right now. I think both North Carolina and Miami can lay claim to being top 10 teams in the preseason, top 15 at worst. North Carolina's Sam Howell's a star. We all know that. 2 seasons in, he has 7,227 passing yards and 68 passing touchdowns. He's got to be one of the preseason Heisman favorites. I know North Carolina has some playmakers they have to replace, but keep in mind they bring back all 5 starters along the offensive line. So that's a pretty big deal. And I expect North Carolina to be balanced yet again and prolific offensively. They have one of the ACC's best pass rushers on the other side in Tamon Fox, a guy with 20 and a half career sacks. And then Miami, I like Miami a lot. And I know in recent years, you know, if you've kind of bet big on Miami, maybe they've let you down a little bit. But I think this team with King healthy is a national player. You bring back Cameron Harris at running back, Mike Harley at wide receiver. You add in the Oklahoma transfer, Charleston Rambo via the transfer portal. You had some big names like Nesta Silvera and Bubba Bolden turn down the NFL to come back for another season. I think Miami's really good. And, you know, I've said this time and time again, I think college football is better when Miami's contending. They're one of the kind of leading programs in my mind when I think about just the history of college football, and I think they're going to be in the mix. Could I theoretically, depending upon how spring practice goes and some storylines flip-flop Miami and North Carolina later in the year? Maybe. I think they're close, Ben. I think North Carolina and Miami are close. I think top 10, top 12 is kind of where both of those teams belong right now, and it starts with their star quarterbacks.
The thing about it is, though, BJ, I mean, going back to this time last year, we was talking about, you know, North Carolina and Sam Howell, they would go as he go. And, you know, they play. Yes, you look at them versus Miami, you know, that two-headed monster at running back, they look really, really good. But then you look at them against Florida State. I mean, are they built for the moment? They're not running from anybody this year. Everybody knows, as you mentioned, BJ, 68 touchdowns, over 7,000 yards coming into his true junior year for Sam Howell. Those guys are going to be really, really good. I mean, it's going to be, as far as like Miami, De'Aaron King and his health. I mean, I know it's so easy. I mean, obviously, he shocked the world when he said he was coming back, for another year, but he also got hurt. So he's coming. So this is coming off a injury, as far as like what De'Aaron King is going to do. But I do think when you look at what North Carolina brings to the table, BJ, when you got a veteran QB who definitely has all the tools of Sam Howell, they got a chance to go out there and be, really, really good. I know you ain't got to him yet, though. I know we trying to wait a little bit, but I'm looking forward to see what Georgia Tech's going to do, because they had true freshmen at quarterback and running back. I know you ain't got to them yet, BJ, but I'm just saying, Mr. Sims, Mr. Gibbs, Georgia Tech should be feeling really, really good right now because of what North Carolina didn't show in the big moments, BJ. Nobody's scared of them in this division. You have no reason to be, because you know why you talking about North Carolina offense? Because they defense, if the offense got to keep them in games, they don't get no help from that. I mean, for that defensive side of the ball. I know you ain't got the G-Tech yet, but I like them Georgia Tech boys, but we'll see what them boys from Chapel Hill got this year.
Well, the best defense in the division may belong to Pitt, and I have Pitt third, and Pitt has Kenny Pickett, who's basically the new Ian Book. And what do I mean by that? Well, Ian Book was the quarterback at Notre Dame from 1977 to 2020, and I think it feels like Kenny Pickett has been there just as long. He's coming back for a 6th season, but he's a very accomplished quarterback. He's probably going to pass 8,000 yards passing with his next completion. But with Pitt, it's about the defense. They led the nation in tackles for loss last year. and all of their linebackers return. Cam Bryant, Phil Campbell, Servassier, Dennis, Chase Pine. They might have the best collection of linebackers in the country. If they can develop more of a consistent identity offensively and replace a pass rusher or two, I think Pitt could be interesting. Virginia Tech, for me, Kev, is kind of a hard team to get a feel for. They've had a lot of transfer and turnover roster-wise. Quarterback, of course, a big priority now that Hendon Hooker is off to Tennessee. It looks like Braxton Burmeister is going to be their guy, a veteran. I like some of the pieces on defense, Amari Barno, Shamari Connor, but kind of where's the explosiveness going to come from offensively? I do think after Pitt, I think it's pretty interchangeable. I have Virginia at 5 and Georgia Tech at 6. Again, part of this is pre-spring. I want to see if some of the young guys for Georgia Tech can take another step forward. Virginia has some experience in quarterback. Brennan Armstrong under center. They bring back a lot of their playmakers, a couple of their top linebackers defensively. My questions aren't really, guys, with Georgia Tech's offense, and you want a little more consistency, but I think Jeff Sims has emerged as a leader. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a fun playmaker to watch. I love Tariq Carpenter, the former Long County star, defensively for Georgia Tech. But my question for Georgia Tech, who I do have above Duke, I think Duke will bring up the rear in the division, is where are your playmakers on the front seven? I know you've recruited really well, and I'm excited about the prospects of some of those guys, Kevin. But I think Georgia Tech's offense is going to make plays. Defensively, will you be able to interceptions, sacks, tackles for loss, the big plays? Are you going to be able to consistently produce there?
Yeah, I think if you're Jeff Collins, that's, again, your MO. And I think you look at certain coaches, if you come in and your kind of MO is I'm a defensive guy, look at what Jeff Collins did at Florida with the defense when he was there, goes to Temple, has good if you come in, the weak spot is defense. Hey, what's going on there? And I think with Georgia Tech offensively, they've scored more points. You'd like to see them take another step forward in that progression. But again, I think defensively is where they'll make their living if they make any. They've got to have, as you said, the front seven. Somebody's got to step up, make a name for themselves, and make plays. Secondary probably going to be pretty good. The front seven will tell the tale for Georgia Tech if they're going to take a step forward, if they're going to hang around that 3-4 win mark.
I do think, Ben, though, to your point about Sims and Gibbs and Mason, good depth at quarterback and running back for Georgia Tech. I think that offensive backfield is going to be very good. And you had some ups and downs with Sims last year. You knew that was going to happen. True freshman coming in, leading a team that was still in transition. It's not like you were stepping into a situation like Trevor Lawrence stepped into at Clemson. There were a lot of questions around Jeff Sims, and I thought he showed great leadership. I thought he showed great toughness. I think he's a guy that can kind of rally the team, and there's the guy you can point to and say, that's our guy. We believe in him. We trust him. He's got kind of a moxie to him that you like to see big-time starting quarterbacks have. Throw a pick, okay, he's back out there. He hasn't lost his confidence, has some mobility as well. So when you talk about young players to watch around college football, I think Georgia Tech's got a couple of them, most specifically quarterback Jeff Sims and running back Jahmyr Gibbs.
And you can read all about that, southernpigskin.com, on the pre-spring power rankings there. The Atlantic was up yesterday, Coastal Division up today as well. We'll got more to come here on 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, including a little buy, sell, hold Braves edition top of the final hour. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben will do a little buy, sell, hold Braves edition coming up top of next hour. Then we'll look at our top 10 returning college quarterbacks. So we talked earlier with Anthony Trace, Pro Football Focus, about his list of top 10 returning quarterbacks in college football. So we'll get to our list coming up in the final hour of the program. Looking forward to that. They're not looking forward to it, but they're busy getting his arts and crafts ready to go for Vaughn.
I mean, I thought you were doing
and the extra thick handled scissors are ready to go.
I mean, no, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. When he does stuff like that, doesn't he normally do that and then like go into a point or a question like?
Just leaving it open for interpretation today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Kevin looked at me and you like this. Well, listen. Welcome for one for the money. I don't know what's going on with these two guys today. I just said, but no. I'm looking forward to it. Getting to the QBs who return. And no BJ, no Kevin. I'm not gonna homer it up. I know y'all thinking I'm gonna stick somebody in this returning, not guys who play some snaps.
So you're not gonna have Emory Jones number 4.
I might not have a number 4. That's kind of high.
8 or 9.
I think 10 might
I'm
be.
not going to have Emory Jones on it. No, that would be disrespectful to the guys that balled last year. No.
There are a lot of great quarterbacks coming back, and what's really cool is I think a number of the best quarterbacks in the country are coming back at the G5 level. I mean, you think about guys like obviously Grayson McCall at Coastal Carolina, but you think about Levi Lewis at Louisiana. You think about potentially what's the young man's name? It just slipped my mind from.
That guy. Way to sell it right there, BJ.
All right, fine. I'll pull to Kevin from Western Michigan, Caleb Ellaby.
That young man that plays football.
Caleb Ellaby. Okay.
No, BJ.
Logan Bonner.
No, BJ is already letting the listeners know.
Malik Willis.
BJ is going to be waving the flag for G5 quarterbacks all year long. It's starting February.
BJ never stops waving that flag.
Hey, I love it. Hey, listen, I'm looking forward to the BJ and Christian back and forth. When Christian goes, look, no one said I don't like Coastal Carolina, but dude, come on now, like let's.
I made a mistake because
you can be like, give us the top 4 teams in the SEC East. Like, look, when you compare teams to Coastal Carolina, it's tough. It's like,
I made a mistake because instead of running through all the Sun Belt quarterbacks, and then jumping to the MAC, I named like 1 or 2 Sun Belt quarterbacks, which is obviously my expertise. And then I went to the MAC too early. Never go to the MAC too early. That's the problem. You got to go to the MAC last after you get through the Sun Belt quarterbacks.
All I'm hearing is you ain't about that MACtion, boss.
I'm about the Fun Belt. Yeah.
Just if you don't have to play the Fun Belt, leave them alone because they will add to your losses. Not your dubs.
Where is this Sunbelt propaganda coming from?
What you mean? I mean,
come on, the hottest league in the country.
Well. I mean, I watched the first. I watched last year when Iowa State, Louisiana. Iowa State, man, they coming into this season. Let L.
But we're talking about quarterbacks, and now it's just a Sunbelt propaganda segment.
Iowa State won the Fiesta Bowl, got beat by 17 at home by Louisiana.
You know everything you want to know about Sun Belt quarterbacks by the time it's all done. No, we have our top 10.
No, but hold on. Christian mentioned this.
We'll do a little buy, sell, hold Braves edition when we come back. 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on 3 Now, final hour of the show on this Thursday. Plenty to get to. We'll give you our top 10 starting quarterbacks around college football coming up in just a little bit. But almost time to do a little buy, sell, hold Braves edition here on the show on this Thursday.
Before we do that.
Apparently, we're not doing that.
You guys remember how about what? Actually, good. Actually, about an hour ago, Kevin was saying you're a sucker if you spend any money on Valentine's Day. Do you guys remember when we talked about that?
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Yes.
No, now we're changing it.
No, you're changing it.
You're saying I don't spend
money. You've studied at the feet. You've studied at the feet.
I'll pull the audio back up. Kevin said you're a sucker if you spend money on it.
Okay.
Guess who is going to have to spend money for their child's classroom on Valentine's Day?
Okay. So Kevin goes, that's where the cheese going. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure.
I got asked to go do it. I was by my wife who doesn't want to go do it.
No. Which classroom, Christian? Because is it the classroom that he might just be the coach of some of those young men in there saying,
"Oh, you're doing it"? Are you like? Is there like a kid there that's got a hell of a curveball? And so, like all the other,
is it going to be some little league sanctions coming down?
Impermissible benefits.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, Kevin, what were you doing? My son is in the class, and I can't help if what I gave him, he distributed.
Yeah. I hand out custom hearts instead of the B mine. It says throw the heater.
Give him the heater, Timmy.
I mean, it's like the car with cars on it say things like "grow up," like "suck it up." It's fine.
Right. I wanted to update you guys on the fact that
I'm not happy about it.
Kevin will in fact be spending money on Valentine's Day this year.
It's really unfortunate. Buy, sell, hold. We're gonna do that.
It's time for buy, sell, hold on 3 and Out.
Sure sounds like we are there, Kevin. You need Mark to tell you again what we're doing.
Yeah,
here?
buy, sell, hold here on the show. Braves edition. I'll be doing some buying of the Valentines later, unfortunately.
Well, I think this is usually Kevin's very reserved with his money, as we said with Valentine's Day, except when he splurges on his kids' classes. But in buy, sell, hold too, you were very much a sell, hold, and you every now and then when you hit the buy, you hit the I'll buy that. Like, you hit the I'll buy that. Like, you got to add that. That's when you don't buy it very much. But I think as the resident Braves homer, Kevin here will
depends on what we're buying.
I think he's going to be buying a lot in this one. Let's start with just the big one, guys. Do the Braves repeat as the NL East champs? Buy, sell, hold.
I'll buy that. I mean, I don't trust anybody else in the division. I think the Nationals kind of had their success and they faded. I think the Mets are the Mets, and the Phillies are the Phillies, and the Marlins are the Marlins. So there's my full take.
That is a tremendous
breakdown. That's a hell of a sports break. You can only get that right here on ESPN Radio Coastal.
When I look at the East, it's the Phillies are the Phillies, the Mets are the Mets, and the Marlins are the Marlins. And continuing that thread, the Nationals are the Nationals, and the Braves, they're the Braves.
BJ just bought stock the way all the Redditors bought stock. They were like, GME's GME.
It's a cryptocurrency with a dog logo. Let's get it.
Let's get after it.
Of course, I'm going to buy you. You bring back Marcel. You're going to have a healthy, Mike Soroka. And I do agree with BJ. Nobody's afraid of that division. They repeat. I'm buying it.
I'll buy that. I'll buy that as well. I think again they've got it done last couple of years. The 162 ought to be a challenge this go around. I think it'll be a very competitive division. So if they win, it won't be like 9 or 10 games worth, but it'll be a dogfight right down to the end. I think the Braves can win. I'll buy it.
All right, buy, sell, hold. The Braves will win over 100 games.
I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be close, but I'll. If you're going to win the division, I'll buy that. I'll buy that close, but I'll buy it.
100. 100. I'll hold on that one. I mean, I do agree with Kevin. It's going to be tough, but I'll hold 100 because as soon as I say it, they'll win 98. So I'll hold.
Oh no, this is a strong sell on me. I'm thinking the NL East is going to be very competitive. Very competitive means you're just not going to win as many games. So I'm thinking in the 92 to 94 win range, possibly to win it. I don't think they'll get close to. I mean, if you start getting people think like 100 wins, like that's just no. You have to be really really good to crest that 100 win mark. And if you're in a tough division, I just don't see that happening. I think a couple of years ago in the Central, you had the Cardinals and the Cubs and all them were bunched up there, and somebody won the division at like 89 games or 90 games. Like it's so competitive. It's going to be tough. I'm going to hard sell on the 100 wins.
All right. Buy, sell, hold. Ronald Acuna Jr. will have 30 plus home runs and 30 plus stolen bases. He's already done this once in his career.
Yeah, I think I'll buy that. I mean, I think his expectations are to do that. I think he's internally motivated to be one of the most versatile players in Major League Baseball. So yeah, the track record's there. I'll buy it.
Yep, I'm buying it. I mean, we have it. The thing about this, I mean, Christian, when you look at the superstar power, yes, he's already had on his resume, but he want to show he's not a 1-year wonder as far as like almost getting to that 40-40. I'm buying it.
I'll buy it.
He only had 8 stolen bases last year, but he was dealing with some injuries and just kind of a weird year.
They also only played 60 games.
I think he only played 45 or 46.
So another 100 on top of that, and he's probably in the ballpark of getting close to 30-30. I'll buy that.
All right, buy, sell, hold. The Braves have 3 legitimate MVP candidates on their team.
Sure, I'll buy that. I mean, I don't know that they'll be 1, 2, 3 at the end of the year or anything like that, but in terms of being viable contenders who kind of meet the threshold of statistical production and having the brand recognition and the name to be in the mix, yes, I'll buy that.
Yes, BJ. I don't know why you're looking all up with that. Of course you buy that. Marcel get the mashing Acuna gets to doing what he's doing and Freddie Free coming off. So yes, I'm buying that. Yes.
I'll put a hold on that. That seems like an awful lot. Because to do that, all 3 would have to have just monster seasons. Not saying it can't happen, but I'll put a hold on all 3 of them being MVP candidates by season's end. So I'll put a hold on that.
All right, flip side of that with the pitchers, the Braves have, and you can pick or choose which ones you want here. The Braves have 2 Cy Young contenders in their rotation.
I think I'll hold that because Mike Soroka is coming off of a pretty substantial injury, and we don't know exactly when he's going to return into the fold. I think Fried is certainly there, but with Morton, I think he's in his late 30s now. You're expecting him to be kind of a stabilizing piece, not a starting pitcher per se. So I think I'll hold on that. It kind of depends on what happens with Soroka and his timetable.
I'll sell that only because for the simple fact that Soroka's going to be making his way back. I know we just expect guys to just be who they were before they got injured, but I mean he's got to get out of his head first, and I think he's going to be really, really good. Fried, I have no problem saying yes with him, but I'm going to say I don't think Soroka's going to get back to who he used to be. Going to be really, really good though.
I'm going to sell that one for the reasons they said that Mike Soroka is going to miss probably a month before he's pitching with Atlanta, and 2. Bro, have you seen the dudes in the Dodgers rotation? Like the mountain to climb to have 2 Cy Young finalists is going to be very, very steep.
Well, he didn't say finalists. He said contenders.
Contenders. They said it could have been a contender. What's that? No, I'll still sell it. I think having 2 guys pitching at that level, you get one, you're doing pretty good. That doesn't mean the other guys are pitching poorly. It's just legitimate Cy Young stuff.
I think 2-3 years from now.
Even Max Fried fell off a little bit towards the end of the regular season last year to kind of fall out of that, but he was still very, very good. So I'm going to sell that.
I think 2-3 years from now, you're saying absolutely yes, right? You have Mike Soroka, Max Fried, and if Ian Anderson's trajectory keeps going up, I think you're saying absolutely yes on that. All right. Buy, sell, hold. Marcell Ozuna will lead the league in one of these 2 stats: home runs or runs driven in. He led the league in both of those in 2020.
No, I'll sell that. I think just a lot of variables over the duration of a 162-game season. And if you're telling me you're not going to have in either category Ozuna or the field, I think I would take the field. Last season was kind of the culmination of just a remarkable hot streak from him in kind of a condensed schedule. I think he'll be up there, but to lead the league, to call that shot, I'm going to sell it.
Yeah, I'm gonna sell it too. I just think what happens is, I mean, Kevin, you're gonna have to help me out with this. I mean, the thing about a guy like Marcell, he mashes, but guys tend to strike out a lot when they're swinging for the fences. For a guy like Marcell, I think he's gonna be really, really good. I don't think he's gonna lead in any category, not because he can't, but I don't think he has to. So I'm gonna sell it.
To lead in both or just one of them?
Lead in just one of them.
Just one of them. I'll hold on that because I think he's got a chance with the guys in front of him to certainly be in the mix for RBIs. Home runs, it's tough. To say, oh yeah, you'll be the lead leader again. You're adding 100 more games, for with which guys to go out there and mash, and that's such a fickle thing. But where he's at in the Braves lineup, I mean, you're batting behind Acuna, Albies, and Freeman. You're going to have a chance to drive in a boatload of runs. So I will hold and say he and again, that's fickle because you don't know what other guys are going to do. He's got a chance to do it with RBIs, I think for sure. But I'm not just chalking it up. I'm going to say hold.
All right, a few more here for you. Buy, sell, hold. Austin Riley will have a batting average higher than 240 at the end of the year.
I know this is kind of taking the easy way out, but I'm going to hold. I have no idea what to kind of what to project with him. He's been so inconsistent. He's been awesome at times. He's been really bad at times. That's a modest goal. I don't think that's too much to ask, but I'm going to hold. I need to see how he does.
I mean, with BJ, look, I always go off your energy and Kevin's energy. I'm going to sell it because the whole thing about it is this, Austin, hey, now you're going to be the third baseman. So you got to deal with running out every single day. And you got to deal with the plate. That's a lot on the young man's mind. I'm going to sell it.
I'm gonna buy that. All I need is 241. all I need is 241. But no, I do think you'll see a better effort. Who was it we were talking with earlier in the week about this with Bud? Who said, look, if you take the good from Austin Riley at the end of 2 years ago and the good of Austin Riley from last year and mash them together, you got a pretty solid ball player. And I think looking at what he's done in the minors, he's got the tools to be a good player. Now, again, I'm not saying that means 300, but I think he's certainly got the tools at this stage of his career to hit 250, 260. And will he do it? We'll see. But all I need is 241. That's all I need. 241 and I win. So I'm going to buy that.
I'm selling that because you don't need him to. You can put him down.
All the more reason why he should be comfortable up there at the plate and just do his thing.
Yeah, you can put him down at 6, 7, 8 and say, swing away. I want this thing deposited into Cab County. I don't care about a batting average. Yeah, I'm selling that one. All right, buy, sell, hold. The lineup will start with Acuna, Freeman, and Ozuna, and it will stay that way throughout the year.
You disrespecting Ozzy Albies?
Yeah. They had Freddie Freeman up in that 2-hole a lot.
I'm selling that. I want and think it will be Acuna, Albies, Freeman, Ozuna, and then you can kind of play with it after that. I think that 4 is the best way to go, so I'll sell that option.
All right, Ben, before you answer, like you guys shaking your head, that was a predominant lineup for the Braves in 2020 with Freeman in the 2-hole and Ozuna in the 3 because Albies struggled mightily.
I mean,
got more time to play with it. And
I'll hold. I'll hold for that reason because I think trying to figure out how guys like mesh throughout the course of the years is it's just a part of baseball. So I'll hold on. I don't think nobody's gonna be going crazy. They got to be in the 3-hole instead of the 4-hole. So I'll hold. I'm
going to sell that because I do think 100 more games, again, changed a lot of things. In a 60-game sprint, you didn't have time for Ozzy Albies to figure it out. Hey, you're in a little bit of a struggle. Boom, move you down. Let's put our bats up at the top. I think you're going to give that a little more time. I think it's going to be Acuna, Albies, Freeman, and Marcell Ozuna. Pretty standard unless somebody gets hurt and you got to move a Dansby up there or something like that to hit on the off day. But I think more often than not, that's the 4 you're going to see at the top.
All right, just 2 more here. Buy, sell, hold. Austin Riley and Travis d'Arnaud will be the predominant players at their position for the Braves in 2020.
Yeah, I'll buy. I think d'Arnaud has stabilized the catching position. He's a really good player offensively, gives you a little more than you've seen from a lot of catchers, even who are getting paid more than him around baseball. And then I think some of the reality at third base is just Riley's the best option. I think the Braves will keep their eyes open, but as long as he's, like you said, Christian, showing that occasional power, I'll say yes, I'll buy.
Yes, I'll buy as well. d'Arnaud is going to be rock solid. And like I said, when it comes to Austin Riley, at a certain point, we can't keep talking about this year. Well, this is the year. He's going to be fine at third. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'm going to buy that too. I look at catching spot. They haven't signed another catcher. They let Flowers go. d'Arnaud is in the last year. They haven't gone out and brought in another catcher, at least at this point. I think it's going to be William Contreras as they try to groom another young catcher that can stay with the organization. I think if that's the case, he's catching once every 5th day. d'Arnaud's getting the rest of the time. And Austin Riley, my money better than Camargo at third, and he'll be there more often than not. So,
and finally, buy
it,
sell, hold. The Braves get the 5 extra playoff wins that they needed and bring home a World Series.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I got to sell that right now. I mean, it's the Dodgers, man. I mean, the Dodgers have an all-star team. Do I think the Braves can contend? Absolutely. Do I think you should have postseason expectations that include winning series? Yes. But saying right now that you're going to beat the LA Dodgers and get to the World Series and, I don't know, beat the Yankees, I think that's a tough sell. I'm excited for the Braves. I'm ready, but I got to sell that.
I'm going to hold on to BJ for the simple fact that if somebody would have told you in a pandemic-stricken season you're going to have Max Fried, no Mike Soroka, Ian Anderson, Kyle Wright, and Marcell Ozuna, and you're going to be what? 3 wins away from going to the World Series. You'd have been like, man, you're crazy. Well, that's exactly what happened. So yes, I'm gonna hold on.
1 win away from going.
One win away from going.
5 win away from winning.
I'm going to be bold. I'm gonna bold. I think if just judging like what BJ said, you look at it, the Dodgers on paper are the best team. So if you're going to say I'm buying stock in the Braves winning the whole thing, again, I've got 29 other teams that would say that's not going to happen. So I would hold that, and I think the Braves have the ability to do it, but I'm not just going to go out and buy crazy stock in it. Plus, as Christian as well made us all aware of, this is an Atlanta sports franchise. I think the smart money would be on the hold or the sell. I mean, just saying, the Braves have one title.
It's only strong on the sell if it's a hockey team. Everything else is just a hold.
That's buy, sell, hold. Braves edition. That was fun. We had a good time doing that. We do it occasionally here on the shows. Braves will report next Wednesday. Pitchers and catchers. We've got more to come. 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. extra year of eligibility granted by the NCAA. Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, joins us here on 3 and Out. Mike, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well, guys. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on. Julian Rochester, that's and Demetrius Robertson, big news. Certainly for Rochester coming back on that defense, a huge retention there for Kirby Smart.
Yeah, you hope for a good recovery for Julian. He was having such a good season last year, and he went down in that Kentucky game. And, really, they lost 4 starters in that game against Kentucky, and then Richard LeCount got in the accident that night on the motorcycle. And next game up was Florida. It really hurt to lose Julian. He's such a veteran player and such a presence, and give you so many valuable snaps in that interior line. But him coming back with Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt and Jalen Carter, I dare say Georgia has the best interior defensive line in college football. And then we just have to see what D-Rob does. You hope for a really good, strong, and healthy off season. We know they're going to throw the football more at Georgia. Pretty deep receiving core. You hope he can get some momentum coming out of 2021.
So where is Georgia now scholarship-wise? And assuming they have a couple left over, what are they looking to do with those spots before the season?
Yeah, a couple open right now. You got to figure there's going to be some more attrition after spring drills when, guys see where they're at on the depth chart. Georgia needs DBs. They got to get a DB transfer or 2 if they're going to compete for a championship. They lost most of their secondary last year. They bring back Lewis Sane, and, he's a headhunter, great player. But after that, you lost 3 cornerbacks, Eric Stokes, Tyson Campbell, and DJ Daniel. And as we mentioned, Richard LeCount also coming out. So some reloading to do in the secondary, but boy, this sure looked good everywhere else.
And Mike, was Georgia, ever actually close to losing Dan Lanning and Dale McGee?
Well, I don't think, I think, Dan Lanning was a threat. Texas tried to hire Dan away, and he got a decent size raise. And I'm sure Auburn probably talked to Del McGee based on his raise. It wasn't. I didn't think the running backs had a great year, so I don't think Del got a raise based on the running backs' performance. But I do think there's always interest in Auburn. You take a look at what Brian Harson's been able to do with that staff already. I mean, Derek Mason is a really good football coach. Vanderbilt is a hard place to coach, but that guy is really good. And I think Mike Bobo, has done some good things over the course of his career. So, that Auburn staff, I'm sure they look to try and get Dell, as he's been one of the better recruiters in the SEC.
But Mike, that seems to be the name of the game, though, right? I mean, unless you're Alabama, because nothing of the norms applies when you're talking about Alabama. But the Clemson model, some of the other teams that are there at the top of college football, get your assistants, get them paid, and keep them.
Yeah, if you can, but good assistants go, they get promoted and they have opportunities to move on. If they're getting head coaching jobs or coordinator positions, that happened this last year with Charlton Warren, going from secondary coach to D coordinator at Indiana. I mean, you go back, look at some of the guys off Kirby's staff. I mean, Shane Beamer, he's now the head coach at South Carolina. Mel Tucker, now the head coach at Michigan State. And of course, Pittman. He's now the head coach at Arkansas. Hard to keep those guys when they're getting promoted. Sooner or later, Dan Lanning is going to get that head coaching opportunity.
I was going to say, talk if you can about Lanning's progression from a guy that maybe wasn't a huge national name not long ago to someone that's had remarkable success and is now a part of seemingly every rumor that occurs in the offseason.
Yeah, well, Dan's 34 years old. He's still on the younger side, but certainly he's accomplished when you look at what he's done the last 2 years. Georgia's led the nation in run defense, and I think he's shown you that he can develop great players when you look at Azeez Ojulari and Azeez being a likely first-round draft pick. That's kind of one of Dan's monsters there on the edge. Is Georgia's produced some really good pass rushers out there. I think Adam Anderson due for a big year. We'll see what Nolan Smith can do, a former number 1 recruit. Really hasn't done much. Too early to call Nolan a bust, but when you're the number 1 overall recruit in the country, you think that he'd get in the starting lineup the first 2 years, but it's been tough at Georgia where there's been a lot of talent at that position. This should be Nolan Smith's coming out party this season.
And Mike, no short of talent in that running back room. I know it was real different for Georgia fans last year, watching those guys just light it up through the air. What's going to be the balance, or is there going to be balance with a crowded running back room? A lot of receivers coming back. Is it going to be more balanced the running pass, or are they going to just let JT Daniels kind of lead the way?
Well, I think they're going to throw the football more. I think it's going to be a controlled pass game, a highly effective, efficient game. We use the backs and James Cook is a guy that has shown you he can catch the ball. Kenny McIntosh as well. And, I saw Kendall Milton do some things. Just kind of makes me wonder where Zamir White is at in the mix. Don't think he was the best running back last year. I think there was some loyalty from Del McGee to Zamir. I thought Kenny McIntosh, if you look at some of the metrics, was probably the best all-around back. James Cook had some great plays in the passing game. And I thought Kendall Milton, when he was healthy, was the best runner between the tackles. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's still on the roster after spring drills and going into next season. I'm not sure there's enough ball to go around for the guys that are currently in that running backs room.
And we've seen Georgia deal with that before, but what's the mix when you're just that stacked at the running back spot? I can't imagine guys are willing to say, especially guys who have been there, hey, I'm cool with 5-6 carries a game, maybe on a good Saturday, depending on how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that workload's going to break down. Again, I wasn't very impressed with Georgia's run game last year, really. I mean, you think back to getting stopped at the 1-yard line against Tennessee before halftime and some of the short yardage situations. When you really needed the run game against Florida, it wasn't there, and it wasn't a very good Florida defense. I mean, you got to make the plays when they ring the bell. You got to make plays, and they weren't able to run the ball on Florida. And once Stetson Bennett got injured on that second drive, that was pretty much all she wrote. I mean, Georgia's up 14-0, at the 11-minute mark, and then Bennett's going to the locker room to get his shoulder looked at, and all hell breaks loose because you can't run the ball, and you go 3 and out 4 out of the next 5 series. Kyle Trask goes back there and plays Papa shot with, half that defense out injured or missing. So, you can't have those kind of breakdowns. That was a discouraging loss. Losing to Florida is a failure now if you're Georgia. It used to be I remember Georgia fans talk, if you could just get one. Listen, you ought to be beating Florida every year now, okay? You got the coach, you got the facilities, you have more talent than Florida. My goodness, Dan Mullen is serving a show cause order right now, and Florida has some sanctions coming up, and they just lost their Heisman Trophy quarterback finalist and their top 3 pass catchers. So Georgia has momentum back, but they really need to cash in this year, get back to the SEC championship game.
I know the passing attack has the potential to be very productive. How big of a factor could Dominic Blaylock be after what was a huge 2019?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he comes back from that knee. George Pickens is the number 1 target. Make no mistake about that. George is going to be a guy that's going to approach 100 catches this year. You look for really big things from George Pickens. He's such an incredible player, and he's in the film room, and him and JT Daniels have really struck it off well. So I look for really, really big things from Pickens. But there's other guys, right? Jermaine Burt is extremely talented. He's a guy with some incredible measurables and speed and jumping ability. You mentioned Blaylock and how consistent he was, in 2019. You wonder how he comes back. But, Aaron Smith, might be the fastest guy in the SEC. I mean, this guy is hard to overthrow. And you saw Donnell Washington. You got a 6'7", 265 tight end with gloves like that. I mean, this guy just reaches up and snatches the ball out of the air. And he'll knock you down, too. So, you've got quite an arsenal. That's why I said, for someone like Demetrius Robertson, hey, D-Rob's got some work to do to get on the field, right? And it's going to be real interesting. We haven't even mentioned Kearis Jackson yet. Will he even get 20 catches next year? John, they got some guy, John Fitzpatrick, the big 6'7", possession tight end. So got some targets out there. We mentioned Cook, Kenny Mack in that pass game. So I do think you're going to see more passes than runs next season for the Bulldogs.
And Mike, even getting back to the Florida game, obviously, when you think about recruiting, it's going to definitely be Kirby Smart. When you think about development, people are going to think more Dan Mullen. If Florida finds a way to beat a loaded Georgia team this year, what is that going to say about not necessarily the Georgia program, but maybe Kirby Smart as a coach?
It won't happen.
There you go. Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, joining us here on 3 and Out. Mike, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Hey, appreciate it. Hey, that was a punctuation mark to end on right there with Mike Griffith, Dog Nation, joining us. We've got more to come. We'll respond to that and more. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out on this Thursday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. If you miss any portion of the show, you can go to our YouTube page at ESPN Coastal, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, ESPNCoastal.com. So a number of places for you to catch. Did I hit them all?
I'm going to start writing these down for you.
I think you will, so I don't mess them up like I did late yesterday in the program. But no reason why you can't catch every portion of the show there on one of those locales each and every day. But we're glad to be here with you this afternoon. We talked earlier in the show with Anthony Trache, Pro Football Focus. He put out his list of top 10 returning quarterbacks in college football for 2021. What say you, BJ and Ben?
All right. Clarification purposes. Am I going 1 to 10 or 10 to 1?
Go from 5. Let's go from 6 to 10 and 5 to 1.
No, I think 1 to 10, because then once you start getting down to the 8, 9, 10, that's where people start getting nervous. Their guy's going to get left off.
Okay, see that's why you asked the question. All right, for me, number 1 is Sam Howell at North Carolina. I think the fact that he came in right away as a true freshman, did what he did. He has Carolina as a national contender, and the numbers are off the charts. I have Spencer Rattler, Oklahoma, number 2, very similar, coming in right away. Big-time expectations, exceeded them probably. You saw him look great against Florida, of course, in his most recent game. I have Matt Corral 3, and the Ole Miss quarterback needs to clean up the interceptions a little bit, but to put up the numbers he has week to week in the SEC against those defenses, remarkable, and he's got some mobility to him as well. Number 4 for me, De'Aaron King out of Miami. Want to see him get back healthy, but his career at Houston was record-setting. What he did at Miami last year, very impressive, great player. Grayson McCall at number 5, Coastal Carolina. One of the most impressive freshman seasons I can remember. Not only the macro production and the efficiency, but the feel for the moment. When Coastal Carolina got down late, less than a minute, needed a touchdown against Troy, drove him right down the field. So I have McCall in the top 5. Dylan Gabriel from Central Florida, 6. Again, very proficient, big time. I'm a big believer in the metrics of yards per pass attempt, and I think he's really effective at pushing the ball downfield. Even though he's got 1 start, I'm going with DJ Uiagalelei out of Clemson at 7. Poise, has all the measurables, rocket arm, love him. I think he's going to be one of the most recognizable players in the country. I got Malik Willis at Liberty, 8. This is a guy that can do it throwing, can do it running. They dropped 38 on Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Had Liberty in the top 25, Hugh Freeze, I believe, up in the top 20 for a good portion of the year. And he is a great leader, great playmaker. Number 9, Desmond Ritter, Cincinnati. Dog fans got to see him a little bit in the Peach Bowl. Big-time producer, like other guys on this list, comes through in the clutch time and time again. And I'll go with Kadon Slovis out of Southern Cal, 10. Needs to fine-tune a few things, but has been a big-time player for a couple of years now, slinging it out west. So those are my 10 quarterbacks returning to college football, 10 best.
My number 1 is real, the top of mine is real similar to yours, BJ. My number 1 is Sam Howell. When you look at what he's already done, 6-8 touchdowns, over 7,000 yards coming into his true junior season. He's going to be a guy that's going to continue with what he's been doing his first 2 years. My number 2 is DJU. I'm not going to try to butcher his last name. I think he is going to have a big season for Clemson, because we forget about the Justin Ross will be back. We forgot about him because obviously he missed all the last year. My number 3 is Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler, yes, people are going to talk about, he might have lost OU some games last year, but I think he's going to be able to have a bounce-back season this year. I think was trying to live up to the hype too much last year. My number 4 is Matt Corral. Another year, in that system under Lane Kiffin, I think he's going to be able to put up some big-time numbers in the offense that definitely favors what he does well. My number 5 is Grayson McCall. I know BJ, Coastal Carolina is going to be talked about a lot this year. Grayson McCall going to have a lot to do with it. My number 6 is Desmond Ritter. I think BJ, what he was able to show against Georgia was just a continuation of what he did throughout the course of the year. Definitely takes care of the football. Now it's not gonna have 30 and 40 touchdowns a year, but it's gonna keep that Cincinnati team in a lot of games this year. My number 7 is De'Aaron King. I think that he is gonna be healthy. I think he is gonna come back and have a big year. I think they're gonna have to protect them with the running game, but I like what I saw from him last year. My number 8 is Michael Penix Jr. from Indiana. BJ, the guy can play some football. He can do it with his legs. And I think last year, people are going to talk about only 6 games. Indiana, I think they're going to go as Michael Penix Jr. goes, and I like his game. My number 9 is Kendon Slovis. USC hasn't been talked about in a long time. I think this young man is built for the moment. I think if that Pac-12 gonna have a shot to be one of the last 4 teams standing, this young man gonna have a lot to do with it. My number 10 is the guy BJ, just like Sam Howell last year, Mikael Cunningham. I think he's gonna be a guy that's gonna have to definitely play well, BJ, for them to be really, really good. I do think that Louisville is gonna have a uphill battle, but I like his game. I like Cunningham. I'm gonna have to replace Tutu Atwell, but I like what the young man does both with his legs and his arm. So that's my top 10.
Who just missed the cut for you guys? Like, who is number 11, 12? Like, you thought about it, and you're like, nope, can't do it.
I thought about Levi Lewis at Louisiana. I think what he's done for a couple of years now for the Raging Cajuns, having them on the national stage, not only making plays, throwing the football, but with his legs as well. I think he was the guy that I had right there. I thought about JT Daniels. I need to see it a little more over an extended duration. Was great pushing the ball downfield against Cincinnati, and that was a really good defense. But I was trying to look at some of the other defenses he faced outside of Cincinnati, and again, he had 1 touchdown and 1 pick in that game. You faced South Carolina, who was number 105 in the nation in defense. You faced Mississippi State, who was 52, and Missouri, who was 66. So I think Daniel certainly has the potential to be in that group, but I need to see kind of a full duration of play from him against better defenses than what he saw, at least in the regular season last year. I think there are some mid-major quarterbacks worth keeping an eye on. I know it's hard to kind of compare the production of guys who play in the G5 level against guys from the P5, but I think Caleb Ellaby, who I mentioned from Western Michigan, is a guy worth keeping an eye on. Had an 18-2 touchdown to interception ratio, tied with Mac Jones for the national lead in yards per attempt. But probably the first guy out for me was Levi Lewis.
First guy for me, BJ, is a guy you hire on to me. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, I do like his game. I mean, I just think that sometimes they just, I think, he's a volume type guy. They're going to give him a chance to go out there and throw the ball a lot. I do like his game. But JT Daniels, for the same reason you said, I want to see a full year. I know he got a lot coming back. Can they get back? If they get back to a balanced running attack to go along with that air attack, it could be scary. And, and Miles Brennan, I mean, from LSU, I don't know if he's going to be the guy. Do they make him earn his spot? Coming back off an injury, I think he's going to definitely have a bounce back season. But I mean, I do like Miles, JT Daniels, and obviously, as you say, Dylan Gabriel out of UCF.
Well, I mean, to Miles Brennan, though, it might be Max Johnson getting the start there at LSU. I think when you look at guys like him, JT Daniels, DJ Uiagalelei there at Clemson, they're going to have – I said it right, yes. They're going to have guys around them. So they should come in and have at least the ability to hit the ground running. I think with JT Daniels – because Chris and I talked about this for the show, I want to see a little bit more from him because we got such a small sample size. I think the same could be said for Slovis at Southern Cal. They came in so late in the season, but hopefully you have full spring practice. Hopefully you get a little bit more regular practice in 2021 than maybe what they were doing. I know a lot of times when you're worried about, hey, if we go too close, too hard in practice, are we going to expose our own teammates to potentially not being able to play? So you kind of had modified practice in 2021. I'm interested to see how full spring practice, fall practice, and regular weekly practice on the field help some of these guys that are going to be coming in, like a JT Daniels, who, again, didn't play until half the season was over, more or less, and had to sit during spring and all the stuff that got canceled, and they didn't get to go through and go through a full practice.
And coming off a pretty significant injury, right? And Ben, we've seen it time and time again, right? When players return from an injury, it's usually not that first few games, that first year where you see them get back to full speed. It's usually another offseason in that next year, especially after a knee injury.
Yeah, and the thing is about a guy like JT Daniels, let's face it. I mean, you had to be able to go out there and take some hits. It's not about coming off the injury. Is he getting off the ground at the same speed, before he got the injury, after he got in, because he's gonna get hit. But look, I mean, all these guys are, they have to win because of them, not in spite of them. So that's why I'm saying a lot of these guys, they can win some games because of these guys. And nobody has a bigger, outside of DJ, how you say Uiagalelei? I mean, how you say it, BJ?
Uiagalelei.
Uiagalelei. Outside of Uiagalelei and JT Daniels, I mean, they got the biggest. Everybody gonna have that big spotlight on those guys, and obviously they get the spotlight game, first game of the year. But yeah, I do agree. Christian, the thing about the injuries, you got to get out of your own head. It's like you're gonna get hit. You're not gonna be the same. It's like guys like take that big hit, get up. So yeah, man, that's why. I know. Shout out to Alex Smith winning comeback player of the year. I was nervous just everybody else with him coming off that horrific leg injury. So yeah, those guys have to get back out there, Christian. Hopefully, become the same player they was pre.
Ben, let me ask you this: in terms of guys coming off of knee injuries, Mackenzie Milton a couple of years ago, second nationally in passer rating. What do you need to see out of him to know if he's back?
Are they willing to let him be himself? A lot of times, protecting a player too much is going to hurt him more than help him. And I know that you're going to try to protect him because of knee. He's definitely going to play with a brace. But as a football player, don't hold me back. Coach, I'm a football player, and I know it was horrific to watch, but I'm back. If you guys can let me come over here and play for you guys, let me go out there and be who I am. Because BJ, pre-injury, he was about as dynamic is. But they're going to have to protect him with an offensive line that's rough.
So here's a quick look at some of the quarterbacks that will be coming back there in 2021. We'll come back with more 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Christian Gokel playing all the greatest guitar licks throughout the show today in honor of National Guitar Day.
Oh, if you guys want music, make sure you tune in tomorrow because one of my favorite music days when I'm producing the show is Valentine's Day, but Valentine's Day is coming up on Sunday.
That's a shame.
So tomorrow is when you get all of the greatest love songs of all time.
That's going to be total sap tomorrow on the show.
If you consider Jagged Edge sap, then yeah.
I mean, look, coming at you with them AT aliens, Kevin. I mean, I'm just.
I mean that.
Promise.
I was just
please wouldn't tell you this.
Listening to the last 10 seconds of the show, it's harder and harder to say I am not a cat. That sounds like cats howling at the moon.
I'm not a cat. I'm really here.
Right.
So you're just going to go total sappy love songs on the show tomorrow? Is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
PJ.
Looking good.
That guy behind you, though. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, no.
Ladies, calm down. That is PJ
right. There's 1,000% chance of some Conway Twitty in there, like a 1,000,000% chance of that. Who knows? Maybe some Neon Moon just gets in there as well. I mean, who knows?
Neon Moon is not a sappy. No, it's not. It's about being by yourself.
What do you think me and PJ are gonna be doing?
That's a sad.
Is that why we're by ourselves?
Yes,
because the money's time. Okay, got it. We'll go with that.
That's the good excuse. It's by ourselves. It's just.
I mean, definitely some Usher is definitely gonna get in there.
Oh my goodness,
PJ, any requests? Open for requests here.
I mean, Usher, Tyrese, Eric Benet.
Quick, you got 5 seconds.
I just want to get your attention now.
3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
Oh my.